Blog Talk Radio.
Rolling Hills Asylum. Located in East Bethany, New York, just minutes between two major airports, Rolling Hills Asylum is a hotbed of paranormal activity. They have been featured on Travel Channel's Ghost Adventures, Paranormal Challenge, as well as Sci-Fi Channel's Ghost Hunters. Rolling Hills Asylum has been named the #2 most haunted location in the United States by HauntedNorthAmerica.com. The property was established on January 1st, 1827, as the county poor farm. Throughout the years, it has operated as a poor farm.
Hey everybody, happy Wednesday and welcome to DTM Wicked Radio Network and the Wicked Edge, where everything is wicked, especially the month of July. I'm really ready to get rid of it. Tonight we have a really awesome guest. I'm so excited for him. He's a world-renowned medium and psychic, has done so much work with so many people, and we're actually going to get to meet him in a couple weeks at the 20th at John Tobin's event for the Brookside Historical Society at the Brookside Museum. So excited. Before we get to Mr. Alan Brown, who's awesome, just want to take a couple minutes and just go over, just give some shout-outs to some sponsors. I want to give a shout-out to Sharon Coyle at Rolling Hills Asylum. If anybody is looking to do a private investigation, captive public, give her a call or go to her website, www.rollinghillsasylum.com, and contact her and set something up because you will not be disappointed. It's awesome. And we also want to give a shout-out to Cash Gun Management. If you're looking to be represented, I am one of the agents. If you're looking to be represented, we will be more than happy to represent you, your talent, your team, anything you need, we are there. And also to the historical Fort William Henry Hotel and Resort up in Lake George, beautiful and active. Hold your bananas. If you want an active, beautiful resort, you go there. And they're going to have some events coming up, and we'll share those with you as soon as we can. And so we're so excited. And also to Dream Codes Magazine, they put an article about us in there. Go read us about DTM Wicked Radio Network and DTM Wicked Productions. We're, I don't know if I'm biased, but yeah, we're pretty awesome. Just throwing that out there. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our guest, Mr. David Alan Brown. How are you today, sir?
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Hey, it's an honor. Where are you? You sound a little sketchy there, sir.
I'm down in Florida right now. That's all right. I'm just down in Florida. I'm not home right now. That's all.
Oh, he's sorry. He's in Florida. He's by the ocean while we're up here in New York, drowning in the rain. But he's in Florida.
Yeah, I had some come up with family, so I had to buzz on down here, but it's all good.
Well, that's all good. Well, I hope you enjoy your time in Florida. It's beautiful down there.
Yeah.
So I would like, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. I keep cutting you off. Sorry.
No, You're fine. I just wanted for our guests to get to know a little more about you from your own person. Can you tell our listeners how you became a part of the paranormal, how you came into your special gift, and when you first realized you had a special gift?
Okay. I've always had the gift to talk to the deceased and help them out and move them on if they need to be moved on. And then everything else, I've always been able to do it. So I wasn't like I was trained or taught how to do it. So I've always had the gift. So ever since being a child, it's been normal to me. I don't know what it's like not to be able to do everything that I do. And to help people on. Just at a younger age, it didn't really dawn on me like what I was doing all the time, or always why I knew a little bit before someone said something, or how someone acted, or if someone just lost somebody, I always kind of knew all about that prior to, seeing them. Or as soon as I saw them, I knew about it. And I just took it for granted. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just something I grew up with.
So at never a point it ever startled you or, made you feel uncomfortable that you had this gift?
Oh, well, of course I was startled. Well, when I was a little kid, you see spirits and, people you don't know walking around and doing what they do. You're kind of like, what the heck? And at nighttime, everyone knows, the witching hours, between like 12 and 3, we're in that time. Mm-hmm. And, at that time, things heightened a lot. So I'd be woken up once in a while or, I would see things and you get scared because you don't know who they are. And sometimes it's a very emotional or very intense moment, this spirit wants to share with you. And being a child, being, 5 years old, 6 years old, 8 years old, you're like, you get scared. So you put the blankets over your head, you curl up in a little ball, and and you hide. Please don't touch me. And they're talking to you nice. It's not in a mean way or in a bad way. In any kind of malicious way. They're just like, hey, you see me? I want to talk to you. You don't really realize it at that young of an age.
So it's almost in a way you're like the movie The Sixth Sense almost.
Yeah.
Because that's how it was portrayed with him. Like, I don't know. I'm not very sensitive, but I'm pretty sure if I, physically saw, people who are no longer physically living walking around, I'm pretty sure I would be catatonic and have a heart attack. I'm pretty sure that would happen. So I commend you for being able to embrace that because I don't think I could. I'd be like, okay, I'm committing myself.
My mother also had the gift. And, whenever I had a question, she would answer the question for me. So I think that somewhat helped a little bit with the whole thing. I'm like, Mom, I see so-and-so or I see this person, and I tell her about it, and she's like, oh, that's nice, honey. And that's it. It's like having an imaginary friend almost, but they're not imaginary. So I think it really helped out a lot.
Well, that's good because I know sometimes parents tend to want children to ignore what they're seeing, and that also can be traumatic for a child because then they think that there's something wrong with them, which there isn't.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that often a lot, that parents tend to try to want to shut that down or that person, that imaginary friend can't exist. Instead they should just let it happen and eventually the child will either outgrow it or it'll just develop into a small ability or whatever, I don't necessarily encourage it, but it's up to the parent, do what they feel is right.
I'm sorry?
I said it's up to the parent to do what they feel is right.
Exactly.
When it comes to that stuff.
Exactly, but sometimes what people think is right is tell the child to ignore it, which could be just as problematic. Sometimes I don't encourage, parents to feed into it, but also don't treat their child like there's something wrong with them. Sometimes parents tend to do that when they're afraid, instead of, just letting the child say, oh, okay, all right, that's interesting that you talked to that person, because it could cause more problems in the long run, I think, personally.
Yeah, it can be. What I don't like is when parents try to push, if a child has a small amount of ability or tends to be sensitive in some way or another, and the parents really try to embrace it and then push it on them instead of letting them mature how it's supposed to. A good example that I use for that is not allowing. You would never give your kids the keys to your car and let them drive, even knowing that they're a bigger kid. If he's 8 years old and he can touch a gas pedal, they don't give him the keys for it. He's got to develop into it. And it's kind of like that, If you can ride a bike really well, then let him ride a bike. Don't give him the keys to your car.
Exactly. There's a happy medium there.
Yeah, exactly. I just see a lot of parents and a lot of families that are into the paranormal field do that. They tend to want to push their kids into it. And I always tell them not to. Just let it develop on its own because you don't want to get yourself or the child involved with something that they can't necessarily handle.
Right. I completely agree with you. Excuse me. So do families contact to help you? Maybe if they have spirits in their house that they want to get rid of, do they call you to cross them over? Do they reach out to you for help?
Yeah, I get contacted for all that stuff, for for house spirits and for moving spirits over, and whatever needs to be done. I can definitely take care of all those things. That's for sure. It's a part of the gift that I have. Not all mediums can do it. I know that, but I know I can. I know it's part of my gift. And to understand why they need to be crossed over to begin with. Because the crazy person that has to be crossed over isn't necessarily crazy. If they've been living with, a bad situation for 30 years, you kind of keep reliving that over and over, then, it'd make anyone crazy.
Oh my gosh, absolutely! I can only imagine. Oh my goodness.
So you gotta get in there and fully understand really what the issue is. A good example of that is the very first kind of moving on of a spirit that I've kind of done somewhat openly, a little bit. Is my wife was at work, and a friend of hers was talking about her children seeing someone in the house, and they just moved into the house, and this and that was going on, and the kids weren't. It wasn't like a malicious thing, but they didn't know, and it was somewhat scary, because they never experienced anything like it. So my wife told her friend about me and said, "Hey, why don't you go to the house, talk to the family, talk to the little kids, and move the spirit on. She talks to spirits all the time." And I was a little hesitant at first because I'm like, she's gonna think I'm crazy, and I'm like, I've never done this before. Like, I've done it for myself, and if I've gone somewhere and the spirit needs help, I can do it. But I've never, kind of openly did it on like a case kind of thing. So she talked me into it, and I went and did it, and walked around the house a little bit. There was a guy upstairs, and I saw him, and he wasn't happy that I was there at all to begin with because I was in his house. And so he's across the attic, by a window, and I'm at the other end where the steps are going up. And I go up to the top of the steps, and I stand there, and he's looking at me, and I'm looking at him, and he's telling me to get away from him, to get out of the house. I don't want you here, blah, blah. And I'm like, I said, well, I want to see what happens because I've never pushed the envelope before. So I walked a little closer, and he got madder. He went from just telling me to get away to kind of, he raised his voice. And then I was like, well, let me see if I get a little closer. Just because I've never tested the waters. And I never really came across someone that instantly was mad at me for no reason. So I walked a little closer, and then he, yelled. Not in my ears, but I could hear him talking in my head or whatever. And a bunch of boxes fell over. And I said, holy crap. And I kind of freaked a little bit. I was like, whoa, I'm like, that's crazy. I'm like, okay, sir, I'm sorry. I'm out of here. I said, whatever I did to make you that mad or whatever, I'm sorry. And I'm sorry I pushed the limit with you. So I left, and I talked to the family and kind of told them a little bit of what I knew. And I said, the guy's up here, and he kind of just wants to be left alone, so don't mess around with the attic a lot. And they were okay with that. And then I got in the car, and I look in my back seat, and that guy that was in the attic is in my back seat of my car.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, and totally. I told my wife, I was like, hey, I said, this guy's in the back seat. She said, what do you do about it? I said, I don't know. I said, I've never pushed the envelope before, and I said, I never really met someone that was so pissed off for no reason. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. I said, I'll tell him not to come inside. And so we're driving home, and I'm looking at him, and he's not saying nothing. He's just sitting there. And we get home, and I go inside, and nothing's there for the first day. And then the next evening, I see him in the house with us. And I see him walking around or whatever, and I'm like, what are you doing here? And he wouldn't say anything. And then the next day happens, and nothing. And the third day, he starts to tell me a little bit of a story about his life a little bit. And so he tells me little things that happened with him and whatever, and he's telling me about that he used to live in a house with his wife, the house that I was just at that I first met him at. So after that, once that happened, after a week of talking a little tidbits, at his comfort, because he'd talk a little bit and then he'd be quiet. So after a week of that, he finally kind of came out and told me why he was mad and why he followed me home. And the reason for it was his wife passed away several years before he did, and she told him that she'd be waiting for him when he passes. So all these years goes by, and he passes over, and she's not there for him.
Oh.
So he was sitting and waiting for her to meet back up at some point, and it didn't happen for a long time. And for whatever, he knew that I could move him to where she was, and that's why he followed me home. And that's kind of how it happened. And after he told me that, the little story about why he was waiting and why he was angry and all that stuff, I moved him on. And then I saw him after that happened. I saw him several months later. Like, he kind of just popped in, and I was like, hey, what's up? What's going on? And he didn't say thank you or nothing, but then he left. Like this, I guess he was just acknowledging, or I was supposed to just acknowledge him, and that's it. And that was it. And then I never saw him ever again. So he went to his wife, and he was happy at that point.
Aw. That's such a tragic yet happy, sad story. Wow.
Yeah, it was really neat, but that really made me want to understand why someone's really angry if I first walk in there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So once that happened, I was like, okay, so all the stuff that people say these spirits are bad, or there's bad entities in here, stuff. Are they really bad, or are they just waiting for their wife, or need to unload some sort of traumatic event or something, just so they can move on from that point.
Mm-hmm. So
it really helped me get an understanding of how things operate a little bit, or can operate. Right.
And that's what, the whole thing is learning, and learning yourself and your limitations, and learning basically what you're working with. It's it's always a learning process.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's no, there's nothing on an end. That's for sure. Everybody can learn. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, I can learn something from you, and you can learn something from me, and, everybody has something to teach everybody else. That's nice.
Oh, absolutely. We can all learn from each other if we work together. Absolutely. That's the joy of working with people, because you get to learn things you didn't realize you could either do or were able to do, or different ways in how to do them. It's really nice when you pay attention to other people, and vice versa.
Oh, yeah. Very much so. And everybody has some sort of ability. Everybody does. People are like, oh, I don't have any ability. And I'm like, no, that's a bunch of donkey dust, because everybody has it. Everybody's walked into a bar or has walked into their job and saw somebody and said they're not in a good mood, or said, I don't really like that person for some reason. For some reason I don't like them. And that's everyone's inherited their gift, their psychic ability. Everybody has it. It's just how far do you want to go with it, and how far you're supposed to go with it. But everybody has it. Everybody does.
I don't know. My husband does, that's for sure. I don't know. Like, I can feel people's emotions, I guess, sometimes. Like, I can tell if they're, upset or mad just by I don't know. I can, but it's not that, I don't know. It's not, it's nothing extraordinary.
But that's good, and you should embrace that knowing. Knowing that, if that person's had a bad day, or if someone just needs to say hi, or you just need to smile at them so they're in a good mood at that point, that's fine. That's great. And having that knowledge is nice, because you can make a positive impact.
And that's true. That's very, very true. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
No. I was just a little curious. In your learning experience, have you ever encountered anything or, a spirit that was so strong and, I guess, for lack of a better term, malevolent, that you had to learn, that you learned something from that, what to do, what not to do, and what was that situation about?
I've come across several really dark forces, or dark spirits, whatever you want to call them. And some people call them demons. There's several degrees of it. It's not just, okay, they're bad and that's it. There's some people that are bad and some people that are troubled and some that are really, really bad. And they call them demons or whatever. I don't like to give, when I get into, I call it like true evil. Some people call it demons. When I get into that, I don't like giving them a name or any kind of identification. I just call it real evil. And that's it. And I leave it at that. That's just me. That's why I feel comfortable.
Right.
Because I don't want to give them that identity that they might be searching
right.
for that acknowledgement. But I've come across a few, that's for sure. And more times than not that I've found by clearing them out and stuff is that they make themselves appear whatever is most comfortable for you. So if you have a soft spot for kids, then they can make themselves appear to be a child. They can make themselves appear to be anything, an animal, your favorite cat, someone that passed away. They work on a very deep level, not just, it's not just, ooh, I scare you and that's it. That's not how they operate. They kind of they work really slow and they tend to get in really, really deep. And they start causing problems with families and with all kinds of different things. You know what I'm saying? That's how they tend to work. And that's all the cases I've seen, that's how it's operated. It's all been that type of way. So it's very rarely been where it's like a boo, scare you kind of thing. And,
is there a way people can tell from, and I don't know if this is a stupid question, but if there's a way people can tell if they have a malevolent spirit that's, trying to, kind of trick them and mess with them at a deeper level? Is there any way, any signs?
Yeah. If things all of a sudden start to change with the dynamic of your family, that that might be the case. Where if all of a sudden, like you and your husband start arguing, well, if you guys did an investigation or whatever, and then things start changing. You start arguing a lot, and you're kind of like, this wasn't us. And things there's not really a reason for it. We're just both really irritable with each other, and that goes on for a period of time, not like normal relationship stuff, not that, but, like that. Then you start to question things a little bit. You're kind of like, why? Or why are my kids so angry? Why are we not getting along anymore? Those types of things can be a good indication of it. And you have to have and if you go to see a medium or whatever, they have to be really, really good at what they do in order to know the differences.
Right.
Because I've had that one of the first times that I ever came across someone that was true evil was at a friend of mine's grandparents' house. And I was at a friend's house, and I was talking to a couple spirits just because, they were there and I was there and whatever. It just happened. And so I was at my friend's grandparents' house, and someone came, that same person that I was speaking to came to me. And kind of like, I just got finished talking to you at so-and-so's house. Why are you with me? Why are you coming to me now? And they were talking to me, and then at some point things didn't seem right with talking to them. And it's a spirit. It didn't seem right. It just didn't seem right on at all.
Right.
Like the way they talked and the way they said things or the mannerisms, things weren't exactly the same. And I'm like, wait a minute. I said, you're not right, are you? You're not this person. And then they started getting really angry with me. The spirit did. That, and I was like, okay, I'm like, you're definitely not right. You're definitely not the same person. And then it got really angry, and then things started to change a little bit. And then that person wasn't that person. It was really the evil being. So, and that's how I learned. how that operated. I've done a lot of house clearings, well, not a lot, but I've done a few with those types of things, with those types of, bad spirits. And it's tricky. They work slow, and they take a long time to dig in. And once they dig in, they don't want to move. So to move them takes a lot of energy. To tell them to get out of the house. You're not welcome here anymore, kind of thing. But as soon as you realize that something really isn't right, or you speculate that's this, you could contact like a medium or something like that, or even if you're sensitive yourself and you're kind of like, this doesn't seem right, you could like sage yourself and kind of take yourself outside that box. You know what I mean?
Right.
Go do something that you like to do. Just to get yourself out of that situation or that area, and then you can really gauge things. You can say, you know what, this doesn't make any sense. Or kind of recharge and pull yourself back together, and then come into it. The sooner you realize that something isn't right, the better, because then you can kind of, if it's early enough, you can get rid of it yourself. You don't have to have somebody necessarily come in. And there's just some. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say sometimes it's just a bad spirit that just needs to be kicked out. Just a grumpy old spirit. That's all.
Right.
I've talked to a lot of murderers and killers and stuff like that, and those people, they're the ones that will make something happen in your house, or make a loud noise or do something. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And then those kinds of people aren't that strong. They're the kind of people that like yell at you from across the street, and then when you go over to beat them up, they run away.
Oh.
They tend to be like that. They tend to be a lot of talk and no action. So they'll do a lot of stuff, but then when you confront them, they're like, uh-oh, and they run.
Have you encountered a lot of, murderers, serial killers, things like that in your work?
I have, yeah. Yeah, because I want to find out why. I want to know, like, what made them want to do it? What made them, and sometimes it's not a good story. And by doing that, I kind of have to get in their head and kind of understand everything. And some of them still try to play out that role of murdering someone, like over and over and over, and that's what they want to do. And I kind of just push them aside and say, hey, if you're ready, or when you're ready, I'll help you out. I'll move you forward. But, that's it. They'll show me the enjoyment of it and the fun and what they liked out of it and who they did. And I'm like, okay, well, that's that. You know what I mean? And I kind of just move them away and let them be in their own little spot.
That's got to be a very what's the word I'm looking for? Not interesting, but a very trying road to travel sometimes, to talk to those people, to see why they did what they did. Because sometimes those people really are pure evil. Like some make mistakes, but some are just pure evil. Like you can't get any more evil than that.
Yeah, it's what you do afterwards. You could screw up or you can do whatever, but whenever you're ready to move in the right direction, move in the right path, it's there for you. That's all. You kind of just add more miles on your path. The more crap you do, the more bad stuff, or the more bad stuff you do.
Right.
You kind of add more miles to your path. That's all. But all in all, I mean, anyone's entitled to get that. To be in a good spot. It is trying, because once I reach out to that person can always kind of somewhat reach back to me. It's kind of like giving someone your phone number. They can always somewhat text you back once in a while.
Right.
Not that they do, because I keep my distance from them. I kind of move them aside and say, hey, you're fine there, bye, and I leave. But all in all, I mean, they to get in that deep, you have to, they have to understand you also a little bit. Right.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like a give and take thing. It's, quid pro quo.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is.
Does it take a lot out of you when you communicate with the spirits? Because because they get inside your head a little bit, but does your energy sometimes kind of run out? Does it, does it not just out of your physical being, but out of your emotional being?
It can to a certain degree. But like talking with them and understanding them and all that stuff, it's kind of like reading a book. You can get really, really, really involved in that book, or you can kind of forget that you're in your own house and really be a part of the story, or you can kind of sit back a couple steps and read it and enjoy it for what it is. And that's kind of how it is with me talking to the deceased, or doing anything I kind of do. I mean, I can really be immersed in it, or I can pull back a little bit. And if it's a really good thing, I tend to be really immersed, and then that's it. I can lose energy from it, but it's all how involved I want to be. For clearing houses, obviously, it takes a lot of energy. But just like the chatting with them doesn't really take too much out of me unless it's a really long time or a lot of people,
Oh, I understand. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious, how did you get involved with the Brookside event in John Tobin?
Yeah. It was, I was at Phenomenology, and I was doing readings and all that stuff, and John Tobin came up, and we were chatting for a while. He said, you sound really interesting, and I guess he got a good vibe off me, and we got chatting for a little bit, and I talked to him, and he thought I'd be really good for the event. And I've done a lot of historical sites before with other people. So, I help out, paranormal teams and stuff like that, and I like to do a lot of historical site work, to help raise money for them or whatever. So I tend to do that stuff a lot. And plus I like history stuff, so it's fun. And I don't like to know anything about where I'm going or what I'm doing before I do it. So the event I'm going to, I don't really know too much about the place itself. When I'm driving there, I'll know a whole lot about it, or the day before I'll know a lot about it, just because of the information I'll get.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be fun. It's always like it's a very new experience for me. Like every place I go to is a new place. So I don't
That's
like
awesome.
Go ahead,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I don't like to have a lot of information or insight on anywhere I go. When it comes to historical places like that.
That's understandable, because then you'll get a fresh perspective, and you won't have because sometimes I think when we tell each other about certain places, I'm not saying you want to muddy the water, but sometimes you walk in with expectations, and then sometimes you get disappointed when those expectations don't become reality. So I think the less you know about a place, the better, because that way you can make your own, for lack of a better word, judgment, and you can also make your own relationship with different places.
Yeah. It's fun for the people there too, because it validates a lot of what the historians say and what everyone knows to be true about the place. For not even for the paranormal people, but for people that love history. I could say, hey, listen, there's definitely these people here, and these events have definitely happened, and all this stuff, and I know nothing about the place. And it makes the historians happy, like, wow, this is so cool that we have somebody that knows nothing about this, that are validating so many documents and so much stuff that we know from writings and from word of mouth and from whatever to be true, that this is cool, that this is another source to get historical information about a spot. So it's fun for everybody.
Exactly. I completely agree. Have you been around the New York Saratoga area?
No, I haven't.
This will be your first time.
Oh yeah. I'm very much looking forward to this event, and looking forward to being up there. When I do, I travel quite a bit, and it's going to be cool. I love going to new places and checking out places, and everything is fun.
it's going to be a lot of fun, and I think you'll like the area of Saratoga very well. I think you'll walk away with a lot of experience and knowledge.
That's awesome. I
won't tell you why. But
no, yeah, don't. See, that's great. Don't tell me anything. The least information I know, the better. And it's going to be fun. It's going to be a whole lot of fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun. John Tillman puts on amazing events, and he's such a great guy. And so Kathy's a wonderful woman. And the last event we went to, which was Para History Con at Lake George, it's at Fort William Henry, one of our sponsors, who we love. And it was so much fun, and we met so many wonderful people. And when you were there, you weren't just strangers; you were friends. You didn't have to introduce yourself to anybody. You were all friends, even with Adam Berry and John Zaffis and such. There, we were all friends, and it was so much fun. And so we're all looking forward to this event because it's for a good cause. It's preserving history, and history is why we have people to talk to, because they're living history. Spirits, we have, and that's why we do what we do when we investigate. So, it'll be awesome, and everybody should come out. It's going to be July 20th at the Brookside Museum in Saratoga, New York. I'm not sure what time it starts and what time it ends. I'm sorry, but the tickets are really, really reasonable, and you'll get to meet David Allen Brown. You'll get to meet John Tobin. We'll be there. A bunch of other people will be there, and you're going to be, donating to preserving everything that we are built upon. And so you should definitely go. Where has been some of your favorite places to travel?
Virginia. I like Virginia a whole lot. The Richmond area.
Why is that?
I have no idea. It started out with me being drawn there for so many different things, for different reasons, and around Richmond, and then it's weird, I keep getting pulled there for different events or different little venues, events and historical sites and all kinds of stuff, and I just, it's a good mix between the North and the South for myself, just personally, that's some of the reason why I like it, and just the more I spend time down here, the more little things I find, and little places and little. Overall, it's just everything about it is really, really cool. It's like I said, there's so many little diners that have history and museums and you'll be walking down the road and you'll see something and you'll say, wow, it looks pretty old, and then you learn a lot about it, a lot of history. There's a lot of stuff to it. And it's cool, and I think it's everywhere, but I keep getting drawn. Around the Richmond area, I really, really enjoy a whole lot. It's cool.
Well, Richmond has a lot of history, too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there was all kinds of floods and fires and tons of stuff going on. It's
definitely the epicenter of activity.
Yeah. Yeah, there's quite a bit, for sure. I've seen an increase in just activity in people's homes and stuff. I don't know why, just in the past few months. It seems like stuff has really increased a lot. And I have no idea why that is. And things always tend to run in circles.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting to see why those circles happen. I'm not big in that.
It would be interesting.
I'm not big in. Yeah, in what I do, I always come across there'll be a couple months of a lot of marital problems, just overall.
Mm-hmm.
People that I sit with, and then it'll be a lot of family problems, maybe a couple months later. Just majority. Not everybody, obviously, and everyone's got their own different things, but just overall. So it's weird how things run in circles. And just seems to be a circle now that I'm noticing is that a lot of stuff is happening for people, in their homes and stuff. Good and bad and whatever, but just stuff's starting to come out now for some reason. Very, very strange. In the past 2 or 3 months, I've noticed that there's been a lot more. I've gotten a lot more calls. And I've just noticed that a lot more people are open, and a lot more people are talking about it. Oh, something happened in my house last night, or whatever. Oh, I think it was my grandmother, and she does this, and just everything. From good to bad, or it's just something that no one's experienced before.
Oh, absolutely. And the weird thing is that people are more open to talk about it, but yet for some reason we still have a stigma attached to this industry. It's either really, really accepted or it's really, really not. There's very seldomly very little in between. But you're right. Like at work, people know that I'm a paranormal investigator, and they'll be like, and sometimes I have to weed out the people who are being funny and the people who are being serious. And sometimes that's how I just stare at them for a minute, because they're like, Tiffany, guess what happened in my house last night? I just kind of give them this look, and they're like, I'm not joking. I swear to God, I'm not joking. And I'm like, and I can tell whether they're joking or not. So I'll be like, okay, I'll listen. If they're joking, I'll be like, yeah, I will call Maury Povich Show, and you can tell him. He'll be more interested in what you have to say. But you do hear it now and more now, and I think that also has a lot to do with the fact that there are a lot of shows that televise paranormal activity, and then I think it ties into the scary ghost story that we all used to tell around a campfire. I think that all ties into why people are thinking it's more okay now to talk about things they can't explain than it was before.
Yeah. I find a lot of people they're like, come and check out my house and get rid of whatever's here. And when I go there, it's the family that was there, or they have an old antique in their house, and whoever had that antique before is just visiting it. So a lot of people are like, well, get rid of it. I'm like, no, there's no reason to. They're not hurting you. They're not doing anything. They're just popping in. That's it. Or
right.
The old homeowner is there, and you're just kind of coexisting with him. That's all. That's all that's going on. There's if it's not bad, then there's no reason to get rid of it. It's just an understanding. And there's has to be an understanding between obviously the homeowner and you. Or if it's an old dog of yours, or a grandma or whatever. But it's just not. It's not always, oh, something's happening and it's bad. And that's
right.
a misconception, too, that people have.
Right. Well, I will say that there are some people that contact us, and they'll be like, I think there's something here. Like my seamstress, when we were getting married in December, my seamstress, because we were talking, and my mom had told her that we, are paranormal investigators. She's like, I think there's something in my house. She goes, I am convinced my house is haunted. She goes, things move, and they shouldn't be moving. Doors that I know closed, opened. She's like, and there's a rocking chair that constantly is, not constantly, but moves at certain times during the day, and it's every time during the day. And she's like, I swear, and sometimes I hear somebody call my name. She goes, I swear somebody's in my house. I go, well, are you scared? She goes, no, I'm not scared. She goes, but I kind of just want to find out who or what he is, or who they are, if it's a her or she or whatever, just so, I don't mind coexisting with them. I just want to know who I'm living with. I'm like, that's a really good way to look at it. Who are you living with? Because we're living with the past every day. We just don't exactly have a name or, a face to put with it, but we're living with the past every day. And some people accept it and some people don't.
Yeah. You're right. I funny because I do see a lot of, I find that a lot of older people are like that. They say, oh, honey, stuff like that's been going on for years. And it's the same thing. Are you scared? No. They do what they do, and I do what I do. And that's it. It's a nice attitude to have.
Absolutely. Well, I also think they're like, I'm 60-something, whatever. What's it going to do to me now, They also think because she kind of had that attitude. She's like, what's it going to do? It just lives there. She's like, I don't appreciate it when they open the door sometimes, but it is what it is.
Yeah. It's just another set of eyes to watch your house. Make sure it's safe when you're not there.
There you go. That could be a security system. House haunted, enter at your own risk. Let's see how many people break in. Give agency a run for their money.
That's the worst, right? That's the best alarm system there is. They're going to follow you home if you mess in my house.
That's right. Don't worry about the dog. Beware of the poltergeist or something like that, I want to see that sign on somebody's house. Don't worry about the dog. Beware of the ghost.
That's awesome. I like that.
Thank you.
Really funny.
Try. I just made it up.
Yeah. That's cool. That's funny. It's true. If you saw it on your front lawn or something, that'd be funny. You would laugh.
I think we'll have to make a sign that says that. Don't worry about the dog. Beware of the ghost.
Yeah.
That's it. We have to patent that now, David. That's our slogan. We so have to get a hold of LegalZoom and patent it. It's the new bumper sticker.
Cool. That's fantastic.
Oh my goodness, you're so much fun. It's great.
It's all intent too, which is paranormal stuff. Investigating or anything, or knowing what you want to have in your head. It's all intent. If you go in it with a good attitude and go in it with the right reasons to help or to do the right thing, you know what I'm saying? That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're going to draw to you. If you go in there with, with malicious intents or, I want this and that's that, then, you're not going to get the fun out of it that you should.
Exactly. And I think, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say you're not going to get the activity that you're looking for.
No.
Because you're going in with the wrong reasons. Exactly.
And and I think, and I do have to say for this because we're very big advocates of doing, analysis on the homeowners or, the residents, if you do a private residence before you investigate, because you want to make sure that you're in the right mind, they're in the right mind, and they can handle any information you give them. So,
mm-hmm.
That was going in with the right reasons, because we can all go in with the right reasons, but, and I hate to, again, use the word messing, but within working within this field, you have to understand that, spirits can affect us on an emotional and physical level. And if you make them angry, you could really make the dynamic in the household a lot worse. And remember, you can leave. These people live there. You have to make sure that you have not done anything that could make the situation worse.
You're right. You're absolutely right. I hear a lot of teams I see a lot of teams not have that understanding that you just explained. Mm-hmm. It's a shame.
It is a shame. And, we've heard, we just go in because, we know what we're doing. Well, do you really? I mean, and that's my problem. Do you really? Because, I take psychology and, knowing that there's just so many levels and dynamics that you really should be not so much worried about, but aware of when going into doing an investigation. You have to really do your research. As much fun as it is to go in blind, for certain things you kind of have to do your research on the clients more so than anything else, and a little on the property, but more so on the clients. Ask those questions that probably their doctor wouldn't even ask, because you need to make sure that they can withstand, whatever's going on, and make sure that it isn't just psychological. Because sometimes if somebody misses a med, that can cause hallucinations, and plus you want to be safe. You don't want to go walking into a house that has a serial killer because you're going to be dark, and there's not much you can do about it after the lights go out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right, and that's what I do. I always meet with the people prior to getting rid of anything in the house. Get rid of it right now. And I find out that, no, I'm not going to, because it's the homeowner, and, talk to them about it and understand things. And I do my own little psych test on the people that I sit with. I don't care if I'm sitting with anybody. I download a lot of information about them prior. Not, in my head. I download a lot of information. So I'll know, what to say, what not to say, how they feel, how they not feel, how they go about talking about different things to them and not setting anything off. And that's if I do a house clearing, if I do a psychic reading, anything like that. You have to do a little background. You have to understand what's really going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to look at the whole picture. Sometimes it's not just the potential activity. It could be the clientele too, and I hate to say that, but it's true. It's also like when we tell our investigators, if you're not in a right state of mind, if you've had a bad day, or if something's going on and you can't focus, you can't investigate with us, because I don't want to put you through and make you susceptible to any kind of emotional and psychological trauma that you could experience while investigating, and it's not going to be safe for the clients, because that will affect them too, because this is their house. You know,
Oh, yeah,
so it goes all the way around.
And if you do encounter something bad, you know, and they see that you're in a bad spot, you know, like, well, maybe I'll just follow them home also. Just because you're in a weakened state and you're in a more vulnerable state. And that's what bad looks for. The bad's always pushing. The bad's always looking for a way to get in. You know, the good isn't. The good sits and waits for when you need it, or when you need them, or whatever. You know, the bad's always looking. They're always looking for a way. Anyway, it's crazy.
Exactly.
You know, that's how it works.
Oh, it does, and it's crazy because sometimes you don't know what you're walking into. You can have an idea, but just an idea doesn't give you exactly what's going on, you know. And so you always want to be prepared for, you know, the unknown. That's how I look at it. You're not always going to be 100% prepared, but at least you can be prepared as you can be. Use your common sense and be prepared as you can be.
Yeah, and you know, the biggest instrument you have is yourself. If it feels not right, then it's probably not right. That's it. You know, go with your gut. Go with your woman's intuition, or whatever you want to call it. Go with it. You know, and it can all be personal. You know, you personally may not feel comfortable there. You know, and someone might. You know, and then just go with that. Doesn't matter what your instruments say. Your instruments say, "Oh, there's nothing here," but I don't feel okay. Then go with it. Very safe than sorry.
Exactly, and that should be everybody's motto. Rather be safe than sorry. And if safe means, you know, somebody doesn't go, or, you know, even maybe you shouldn't do an investigation that night, that's what it means. That's exactly what it means. We're running.
Nice having,
okay, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, it's what's nice with having someone like me, not in, you know, every investigation, but if there's something questionable or whatever, it's just nice about having someone like myself there, or to be around, you know, just to have some further insight on why you're uncomfortable.
We'll have to hire you.
Yeah. I do it. I really do. I go all over the place, you know, and I do help out, you know, I really do. It's nice to have that information, that insight to know, you know, if you go in there and say, hey, I want to speak to, you know, Uncle Bobby, and it's not Uncle Bobby, it's, you know, Grandpa Joe, then it would be good to know that. Because then you can really understand what's going on. Or if you want to talk to general whoever, you know, in general, someone doesn't like talking. They were quiet and when they were alive, and they're quiet now. You know what I mean?
Right.
But this person's here, and that's who you're talking to, and go have at it, because he wants to talk about his dog and he wants to talk about his favorite food. Then you'll get tons of activity. You know, you'll get tons of EVPs and all kinds of stuff, because now you're engaging in something that they want to talk about. So it's neat.
Exactly. That is neat. That is so cool. We just have a few minutes left, and I just want to hit on, do you have any books coming out, any projects you're working on, anything you want us to know about that we can let our listeners know about?
I have the John Tobin event in Saratoga on the 20th. And let's see here. I'm working on a book. I have a folio out now. If you go on my website, you can get in, and you can get a look at it, you know, and you can purchase it if you like. But I have a bigger book that I'm trying to wrap up. I don't know exactly when it's going to be released or anything, but it's going to be about everything that I know to be true as a fact. You know, and it'll help clarify a lot of stuff that people want to know. You know, a lot of information, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of people in this field charge for information. And I don't think that you should. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
Yeah, and so I got I'm working on that, and I got a couple of events that I can't really talk about right now because they're not solid yet, but I got a bunch of stuff coming up. It'll be good. You know, I'm getting very busy, that's for sure. I'm busier and busier.
Well, that's awesome. Will you let us know when they're coming up, and we'll have you on the show again so we can share them with the people who can go and see you and partake in those events.
Definitely. And come out to the event in Saratoga, you know, for help out a good place, and come see me. You know, come chat it up with me. I'll give you some information and help shed light on some stuff if you need it. whatever, you know. It'd be fun all the way around.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And everybody that's at the Brookside Museum in Saratoga, New York on July 20th. It's like a week from this weekend. And so you should totally come out, see David Allen Brown. We'll be there. Jen Tobin will be there. A lot of other great people will be there. And it's for a really great cause, to preserve history, and you'll get to meet a lot of wonderful people. So, again, it's July 20th at the Brookside Museum in Saratoga, New York. I'm not 100% sure on the dates, but if you go to John Tobin's website, you can find it. And also go to David Allen Brown's website. Look at his books he has out, learn some more information on him, and follow where he'll be headed to next. So thank you so much, David.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Hey, anytime. You are awesome. All right, everybody. This is David Allen Brown, psychic and all-around awesome person, and we can't wait to meet you.
Okay. I'll see you in a few.
See you in a few. All right, everybody. Have a great rest of the week. Stay together. Stay nice to each other. And remember, don't get all uppity. Peace and love. Bye.
Rolling Hills Asylum. Located in East Bethany, New York, just minutes between two major airports, Rolling Hills Asylum is a hotbed of paranormal activity. They have been featured on Travel Channel's Ghost Adventures, Paranormal Challenge, as well as